Yes, so I think let's get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your respective time zones, and a warm welcome to this webinar. My name is Gunalan Selvam, and I am a product manager at Acheron. I would be the moderator for today's session. Thanks for showing interest in this webinar, where you can get to know why you should outsource non-core business transactions to an expert managed services provider. Couple of ground rules before we get into the webinar. This session would be recorded for the benefit of those who had registered but are not able to attend this live due to time zone conflicts. After introducing the speakers, they would take over the session, and you can feel free to post any questions in the Q&A section. I will consolidate those questions and we'll have them answered at the end of the discussion. This is just to keep the conversation interesting and take a natural flow. And just to start with, right, it is actually interesting to see many market researchers reporting managed services market to grow at a CAGR of 11 to 12%. And there is a lot of catching up to be done owing to the breakthroughs given by generative AI technologies and advanced machine learning capabilities and how they impact business processes and applications. Without further ado, let's get started. First, I take pleasure in welcoming our esteemed customer, Joe, who's the head of product for platform at Bizay. Joe, could you please give a brief intro and also share an overview of Bizay and things around Bizay?
Sure. Thank you, Gunalan. Hi all, my name is João. I'm head of product platform side in Bizay. I've been working here since 2017, always working closely with the customer purchase flow and also our catalog expansion, but the product catalog expansion. We are currently partnering with Acheron because we are revamping our design tools and building a new customer interface for that. Regarding Bizay, just a small introduction. We have been founded in 2013. We are mainly a marketing services and products company based in Portugal. Currently operating in 23 countries, from South America to North America, Europe, and most recently in Australia and New Zealand. We sell customized products and some services of design, to make it short. We have a wide variety of categories, from printed products to promotional, textile, and large number of other product ranges. And although we sell customized products and are an e-commerce platform, we are basically a software company. So our technology is what enables us to connect the industrial manufacturers to small and medium enterprises. And that's where we stand. We have no stock, no machines, no production. Our main product is our platform, and that's what we provide to our customers, with the aim of making these products more accessible and affordable for small and medium-sized companies.
Thanks, Joe, for a wonderful introduction. Next, we have our Director of Customer Success at Acheron, Arun Kumar, who also heads our managed services team. Over to you, Arun. The show is all yours.
Hey, thanks, Guna. So good morning, good evening, everyone. So I'm Arun Kumar Ambat. I go by Arun. I'm the Director for Customer Success here at Acheron. I oversee all strategic engagements and customer relationships at Acheron. I also manage the managed services portfolio within Acheron. And excited to have you here, Joe, and learn how you have been leveraging managed services for your strategic needs. With that being said, so this would be our agenda for our session today. A quick overview of who we are and what we do in the space of managed services. A discussion around the need for managed services for businesses of all sizes and the strategic advantage of having a managed service provider. The challenges that you might have with your existing managed service provider and how we can help you overcome them. And understand from Joe on how Bizay has been leveraging managed services for their strategic advantage. Right. So about us, so we are in this space for more than 10 plus years, specifically offering solutions around workflow automation, and we serve in the domain of enterprise content management and digital experience. We provide point solutions to key verticals within industries like media and entertainment, retail, life sciences, insurance, e-commerce, etc. Apart from offering solutions and specific customer services, we help customers in enhancing an existing technology set, where we provide extensions to help businesses further. And this is our customer base, where predominantly most of our customers are from North American and European regions. We work with them in implementing our solutions, supporting them in terms of their enterprise integrations like OpenText, SAP, Salesforce, Camunda, and so on. Or we help them automate their workflow and support them in their digital transformation journey. And we are based out of India, Hyderabad. We are 70 plus in strength today, and we are growing strong. So these are some of the enterprise partners with whom we work together today, and also some of the key technology stacks that we work with. So what do we do? So these are our 4 key verticals. Technology consulting, this is our biggest arm, and this is where we have our teams that focuses on customer implementation and delivery. Package solutions, this is where we build point solutions for key verticals like retail or in media and entertainment, manufacturing, and so on. And our focus today would be around managed services and managed hosting. Well, so I would like to start the session by quoting one of the recent survey, which is stating the fact that most of the top performing organizations involving a managed service provider have been doing this, right? It was a survey that was done by PwC with over 2,000 business leaders. And they found out that among the top 20% of the high-performing organizations today, be it in terms of profit margin or the revenue growth, are more likely to employ a managed service provider, right, for their strategic advantage. As you could see from this graph here, the companies that use managed service providers for their strategic advantage are more likely to be faster to market and more innovative than those are focusing only in terms of cost saving, right? And if you look at the numbers, a company that has, or an organization that has successfully engaged a managed service provider can bring down their IT costs between 25 to 45%, and they can increase their operational efficiency from 45 to 65%, right? So the message is very clear. Start looking beyond the 4 walls of your organization in order to achieve, be it speed to market or be it innovation, right? So with that being said, Joe, how do you see this, right? How do you see leveraging managed services is helping you at BISE to focus on innovation?
Well, I think that when you innovate, innovation necessarily comes hand in hand with growth. And typically you want to grow fast. And if you grow fast, you'll find challenges that comes with growth and that you need to deal with. And there are a number of ways to deal with it. But some concerns will certainly amplify when you are innovating and growing. Concerns with compliance, with security, with technical new technologies, advanced technologies. Those can be very time intensive, knowledge intensive. Some companies may be able to do it internally, but even then, maybe they will need an amount of resources that they could be using for other other activities more related to their core business. So they could be making sure that their operational efficiency is increasing, but to do that, they would probably need to spend a lot of resources and a lot of time. And if they want to grow fast, they cannot spend a lot of resources and a lot of time. So I'm not saying this applies to all cases, but I believe that in a large number of cases, this is more or less the standard. I think this may even be easier to understand if we to be able to see the context in large companies, which may be more difficult. But even if you look to small companies, in small companies, I don't think there is 2/3. I think it's virtually all of them, because if we think when a small company starts, almost all companies will have a website, just to make it simple, but no company will host their website. No company will know how to make their backups, how to run the server, how to do any of that. So if you look nowadays, every small company that starts will be offloading these tasks to someone that does it better and does not use internal resources. And I think with the larger ones, it's certainly more complex and not as simple as managing a website, but the logic applies the same way, I think.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I agree, right? Because what the point that you made is very important. The access to talent, because when you're starting something, you have your key resources where you want them to focus on your core business rather than managing all these other type of activities, right? And again, this amplifies when you are a larger business, when you have more enterprise systems to manage, and you need talents for all these things. And if you have to start hiring for each of these roles, I think the question would be, when would you be able to get them up to speed and make them productive, right? And the cost that is going behind all these activities. I think that was definitely helpful. Thanks for that. So if we have to look back, right, on the evolution of managed services, right, or how has managed services transitioned over the years? Well, it all started in the 1990s. I think you'll all be able to relate to this very closely, because it was when the internet was becoming more popular. We all started using computers, right? And we needed somebody to take care of the software installations or upgradations and so on. And this is where the concept of remote IT help desks came into picture, right? And I would say this was also one of the form of the managed services to begin with. And then by early 2000, I think this is where MSP started becoming popular, because the organization started having more needs. They started to look for players who can help and manage their networks or manage their on-premise systems or websites or anything for that matter, right? And by 2010, I think with the popularity of cloud, the market of MSP started maturing dramatically. There were a lot of players coming into the market, and the needs of the organization also started evolving because it was becoming more of a cloud setup or a hybrid setup, and people wanted service providers to manage them, right? But if you look at it, it was all run in a traditional fashion, right? And here we are in the 2020s, where there is a shift from the traditional managed services to the next generation managed services, right? So what are we talking here about traditional versus next generation managed services? I think the key differentiating factor is, I think with the traditional managed services, it was all more of a cost-driven approach. And whereas when it comes to next generation, it is more of value-driven, right? So if you have to look at it, what are we talking here in terms of a cost-driven or a value-driven? I think when I'm talking to my customers today, or the expectations of the customers today are, hey, I know you have a contract with us for managed services, and you have X number of tickets, or incidents, or be it service requests or change requests that you will handle. But what do we get more out of it, right? Or what is the flexibility that you provide in your offerings today? How can you help us in the user adoption process, right? And when I talk to some of the e-commerce customers, and this is something that comes up, right? How easily can you scale up or scale down your resources? Because when it comes to a Black Friday or a Christmas, this is where the volume of tickets start growing for us, right? Am I asked to be paid extra for this? Or is this all something that you can cover with what you're offering today? And what is the expertise that you can bring to the table, or the additional knowledge that you can bring to the table, so that you can complement and work with my team? So if you look at it, it is all transitioning from more of a transactional agreement towards a relational agreement today, right? And it is also to do with how autonomous can my users be, right, within the system, involving you, so that we don't have to raise a ticket for each and everything, right? What is the kind of guidance or user guides and so on and so forth that you will be able to provide throughout the process. So with that being said, Joe, I would like to understand your perspective on this, right? What aspects do you think a vendor should provide as part of managed services?
Sure. Well, if you search a little bit online, and I did a little bit of research just to be up to date. I saw in a lot of places something that seems to be accepted commonly, but that I personally don't think is that great. Something most if you look for top characteristics of managed service providers, many people state that they should have a wide range of offerings, a wide range of expertise, and provide a service that can cover a large number of internal company areas. In my perspective, I actually don't think that's the most important thing. I think expertise is paramount, but it's more important to be very competent in a narrower range of competencies than to have a very wide offering of services and then not being the best in any of them. I think of this as like making a parallel. If you need someone to take care of your baby at home, you want that person to be very good taking care of babies, but then you may also need someone to take care of your plumbing, and it will not be the same person, and it doesn't need to be, and hardly will be. So I think very important thing is to have focused knowledge on maybe a bunch of things, but being very good at the things that are done. Because another thing that is very important, I think, is trust. Because this actually is kind of handing someone a baby to take care of, because it's handing internal processes, handing internal tools, handing sometimes critical processes. And so if there is no trust and expertise, there will be very difficult. It will be very difficult to have a long-lasting relationship. On the more technical side, I think once again, security and compliance nowadays is very, very important, because many of these processes that can be offloaded to managed service deal with technical aspects of the companies and infrastructure and data security and etc. So security and compliance, I think it's very, very important. Of course, scalability, because if a company is growing, the company needs that the managed service partner will be able to grow with them, and if not, there is clearly a problem. And last, but I think not least, availability and communication. So the partner needs to be available, and needs to there needs to be, this one is side to side, it needs to be a good collaboration and communication from part to part, to ensure that the partnership works. So I think communication and collaboration skills are very important to maintain a good relation and to make sure that the technical expertise is put to good use.
Hey, thanks, Joe. I think that's a good point, right? What you said, it's not about you carry a lot of expertise, right? Or you try to say that you carry a lot of expertise. Rather, it is be competent in what you are. I mean, if there is a certain set of technologies, you need to be very good at it, because you are more of a consultant partner here with your customers, so that you can provide them the best practices on how they can take the system to the next level. Right. Yep. I think So what do we see as, or when does the need for managed services come into picture, right? So let's assume, like, if you are I think I'm not sure if there is any CIOs or IT admins who have joined the session today, but let's assume if you're an IT admin or a CIO of IT systems for a company, right? That is probably heavy on retail or a manufacturing or insurance or an e-commerce, right? And one of your primary goal of your team is to serve the marketing or creative team, right? So what you see here on the screen is one such blueprint of an enterprise ecosystem which you are managing, right? And I happen to have a similar challenge with one of my customer with whom I was working 4 years back, where this customer was from a manufacturing or a retail space, and eventually they were engaged in an end-to-end workflow involving creative automation, where their information was flowing from different systems, right? And a lot of creative process had to happen behind the scenes before the contents are being published, right? And this is what 10% of the blueprint that I'm showing you here. Imagine a company with more than 5,000 plus employees, the number of systems that they would be using, right? And so on and so forth. So the challenge that they had was, yes, they had managed service provider for each of these systems, these enterprise systems, but when something goes wrong, when an issue occurs, as a business owner, they had to hop between all these players in order to get that solved, right? Now, the issue could be various types, like it could be metadata not popping up inside your DAM when the project management system pushes the content, or it could be your content from the Salesforce, or it could be a content from your digital asset management system is not getting pushed to your e-commerce platform, right? Or the data in the PIM is not translating correctly. Now, as you could see here, it is happening across different systems. So now the question that I would like to ask you is, as a business owner, and do you or your team, is this something that you want to do, right? Rather than focusing on your core business. So this is where players like us who come into picture. We have been in this space for more than 10 plus years, right? We have been studying these systems. Yeah. So what I was mentioning was, I think that the question that you have to ask is, hey, is this something that me or my team should be doing? Where chasing these business people, chasing these multiple vendors and getting this issue resolved, or have somebody like us who have been learning these systems, who have people trained on these systems or certified on these systems, who can come and help you in working with these partners and resolving the challenges that you have today, right? Again, the moment that we get into a partnership with a customer, it is no more a vendor and a customer relationship. We become a part of your team, and we become your single point of contact. And we try to complement your team, be it in terms of expertise in these technologies, or the knowledge that we can provide in order to help you either focus on your core business or innovate things, as well as to take care of your mundane day-to-day operations, right? So, and this applies anywhere, as you could see here on the screen. It could be any system. Today, an enterprise is always connected to multiple systems. So the challenge is going to be very common for almost all of you, right? So again, each organization would have different reasons for engaging a managed service provider, right? I'm curious, Joe, to understand your thoughts around this, right? So when do you think an organization should decide to look for a managed service provider?
Well, I was just looking at the presentation, and some of the points certainly touch. I have identified three major topics that I think are in my opinion, the biggest drivers that may have subtopics. One of them is resource optimization. So you may need, as you said, to focus more on your core business. You may need to improve your time to market. You may have resource constraints and new systems that you need to deal with as you grow. And so that can be a simple driver that I need to increase my operations efficiency, and so I will offload some of the tasks or a number of tasks to managed service provider so that I can have some headspace in the internal team to deal with this and to focus on more core business things. That one I think is pretty basic. The second one I would say is to scale. So as you grow, even if you don't need to innovate more than you are, you will desirably be growing. So as you are growing, things can get different and difficult in a number of ways. And so even if you are not growing in size, you may be growing geographically, and that comes with their challenges as well. So scaling may be a driver also for this type of needs. And the third one, and I think it may be the least thought of, but I think it's very plausible, is that you may already have a problem in place. So you may have security concerns and problems already that you are not dealing with properly. You may be having problems with frequent downtimes or disruptions of your technical processes, some regulatory issues that you may not be tackling, and so you may need expertise and someone to help you manage things that you are already not managing that well today. So those would be my three main choices for drivers to have the need for this kind of services.
Thanks, Joe. Actually, you covered most part of what I had over here, so thanks for that as well. But that being said, just to add to what Joe mentioned, I think it is most importantly, I think the common challenge that I see when I talk to my customers is the teams are stuck in managing their day-to-day activities, and there are a lot of projects or initiatives that are slowing down because the resources are getting pulled in managing the existing systems, right? And this is where I think people like us come into picture, where we can take care of your day-to-day operations, right, or the systems that you and your business is using, so that you can focus more on the core activities. And the last one, I think this is also a very common challenge, the internal knowledge. I think when you lose a talent, you lose the knowledge. And the fundamental principles of our working style is, when we engage in a managed service, we ensure that we understand your system, we document it, and make sure that it is all in place, so that even tomorrow we are not there with you. You and your team are able to be self-reliant and run the show on your end, right? So when it comes to offerings, so again, these are all something that are part of the managed services that we offer here at Acheron, right? Again, this is all something that comes up when you have multiple enterprise systems to manage and maintain, right? So be it in terms of application management, or be it the day-to-day incidents, or if you have a problem which needs a future-proofing to do some RCA around it, or be it security, with a lot of people moving cloud today, right? It becomes a major factor. And with the global workforce coming in, you need to have somebody who's monitoring your solution 24/7, right? So that the business is not being affected. So this is all something that we provide today as part of our core offering. And again, going back to the fact of the strategic advantage that you get, right, or the benefits of having a managed service provider. I think among all these aspects, one is the access to talent. I think, again, if I have to quote from what the survey or the PwC survey resulted is, it is highly impractical or ineffective for a company to employ staff members who have every possible capability that it may ever need, right? I think, and the cost that is going to incur for you to hire these many set of talents. Similarly, innovation, right? Having people to take care of your day-to-day operations so that your core team can focus on it, and also the agility and the flexibility that you get in having a service provider. So Joe, what is the value that you see that can be gained by having a managed service provider out of your experience?
Well, I think this will be kind of a summing up of all the points that we talked about until now. So I think, as you are saying, that the access to talent and the access to new and advanced technologies is a plus. Some things that may be needed and may have a steep learning curve that would be hard to tackle in a short amount of time internally, and would take a lot of resources, as you said. The scalability that is in the same perspective, something that's very hard to scale internally. If you scale in terms of new resources, hiring and making sure that new resources are up to speed with the rest of the team, takes time and it has a cost also. And if you plan on scaling by improving your internal operational efficiency, that's possible also, but has its limits, and also it may not be that easy. As I said earlier, also I think that having someone that has processes implemented and is very good in dealing with things like security and compliance is a plus, because it can be a very complex and ever-changing world that it's hard to keep up to speed with. And also, if you hire an expert, for instance, in managing IT services, you may be gaining a more consistent performance in your applications, and that would for sure be a plus. I think those are the main items, summing up the rest of the ones that we already talked about.
Okay, thanks. I think with that, these are some of the success stories, the recent success stories that we wanted to call out. I think, as you could see here, with Rockwool, they were very clear. They wanted somebody to take care of their system end to end, because they wanted to focus on their core business, right? And this is where we partnered with them, and we were able to ensure that we worked with them over a period of a year, and this is the result of what you see. Similarly, there was a similar case with Scholastic, where they wanted somebody who's an expert in OpenText app works, and we were able to support them there as well. So Joe, I know you have been working with us together for close to a year now. We would like to know, what are your thoughts about your partnership with Acheron?
Well, right now, besides the technical aspect, that in our case it's very specific. It's also in Chile published, but it is good. It's a good expertise. What surprised me the most, and I was honestly not expecting it to be that easy, was the cultural fit and the ease of communication. As I had the opportunity to say a number of times to the team, it's very easy to talk to you. It's very I don't mean to downplay all the other partners with whom we've had a relationship, but in this particular case, I feel like I'm talking to humans, which is something that sometimes does not happen. So so far, it has been a good experience on our side.
Hey, thanks, Joe. I think that also summarizes. I mean, we also heard from one of our other customers who was also talking on the same line, saying that you care for what you're doing, right? I think that's what you're also bringing to the table here. And
Yes.
And thank you, Joe. Thank you for answering our queries and participating in this session. We really appreciate that.
It's my pleasure.
Sorry, I would say I love the Bizet platform, because, like what you said, it gives us the option to personalize the content and the user experience. It makes life easier. And I also see that your vision is to be the Amazon of corporate products and marketing services, right? And we wish you and your team all the very best on that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We wish you all the best too.
Thanks, Joe. And with that being said, I'll hand it over to Guna for the Q&A session. Over to you, Guna.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Arun, for the interesting conversation. And I believe everyone would be able to appreciate the importance of managed services and understand what is happening around managed services and what to expect when getting into managed services engagement. So with that, right, let me just, I have a few questions. So the first question is, it is generic. They are asking what are the types of applications for which you would suggest to engage managed services. I think this had been briefly touched upon by Joe as well. So Joe, would you like to quickly give a glimpse of what types of applications would you suggest for getting into managed service engagement?
Well, yeah, very generally, because the specific ones, I think Arun will be better placed to state which ones Acheron is proficient in. But I think that generally IT infrastructure services, data management, and security, and generally internal IT processes, I think are the basic ones that are always mentioned when we talk about managed services.
Thanks, Joe. Arun, would you like to add upon anything or?
Yeah. I think if we have to put it, I think today it has evolved more like when we talk about application managed services, right? If you are looking for a partner or somebody whom you want to take care of these applications, right? Be it in terms of playing the role of a system administrator, or be it in terms of doing the upgrades to these systems because they might be deployed years back, or you need somebody to even have specific skill sets. Like, for example, we work with some customers where even configuring a search within a digital asset management platform needs to have its own set of expertise, right? So I think it can be for numerous applications, but the whole concept is if that is not your core business and if you want somebody to manage it, I think it would be best to have a managed services player who is expert on those technologies who can come and support you over there. Yeah.
Thanks, Arun. I hope that answered the question. And there's another question. I think this is directed to Arun. The question goes like, beyond managed services, do you also offer professional services, and what are the technologies that you provide services?
The answer is yes. So as I showcased in my slide earlier, the technologies, like for example, I can probably show them again. So as you see here briefly, all these are some of the technologies at the enterprise applications or the technologies that we work with today. We offer a variety of services on all these technologies. Yeah.
Thanks, Arun. There are two more questions. I'll just go for one question, which is interesting. I feel it is interesting because, yeah. So what kind of services you provide on top of Salesforce?
So we provide admin resources to manage your Salesforce account. We provide Salesforce consultants, more often a remote site engineer model, who can provide you with development on Salesforce. And we also provide advisory services on how you can manage Salesforce. So these are our offerings today.
Great. Yeah. And one question we have, so this is like, for applications that are running, this is interesting actually. For applications that are running on-premise, how does it help having remote application managed services?
As long as your applications are accessible via web, we can manage them, right? And I think that is what we have been doing with most of our customers today. And we can make sure that we are managing them end to end, right from installations to upgrades and developments or enhancements or anything for that matter. Yep.
Okay, so I think I've completed the list of questions that came in. I hope the answers were satisfying. If we have any more questions, I think we have 5 more minutes. Yeah, I think we are good then. So, okay, so this brings us to the end of today's session. So just to remind all of us, this session has been recorded and can be accessed on demand as well. And we'll also be sharing this to all those who have registered but were not able to attend. And again, I thank all of you for showing interest in this webinar and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.